What the alien did last night. And why I can't sit comfortably today, HFY. The medbay chair groaned as I lowered myself onto it, wincing. The alien doctor, a tall spindle-limbed thing with too many fingers, tilted his head. Human, he said in his careful translation tone. Your gait is impaired. Did battle occur? Not exactly, I muttered. Let's just say, cultural exchange got out of hand. The dinner that wasn't a dinner. Last night, the Tailcar invited me to what they called the ritual of shared endurance. I thought it was some kind of ceremonial feast, maybe spicy food, weird drinks, a little singing. Nope, not even close. The Tailcar believe the deepest bonds are forged not over meals, but over pain, not suffering. They clarified. Endurance, to them, pain is a language. If you can withstand what they withstand, you've proven your worth as kin. So instead of roasted meat and music, I was handed a seat covered in ridged crystal spikes, like some unholy mix of a massage chair and a medieval torture device. And they all sat down like it was nothing, smiling, relaxing. Me? I gritted my teeth and lowered myself, every nerve in my backside screaming rebellion. I refused to flinch. Humanity's reputation was on the line. The test. Hours passed. The crystals weren't sharp enough to pierce skin, but they pressed into pressure points so precisely that my legs trembled, my spine locked, and sweat ran down my temples. The aliens talked and laughed, passing around glowing jars of fermented root brew, discussing trade routes and clan politics like this wasn't the most sadistic endurance contest I'd ever faced. One by one, elders tapped my shoulder in acknowledgement. The human endures. By the time the ritual ended, I could barely stand. The aliens cheered, thumping their chests in respect. One clasped my arm and said, "You bleed no blood, yet you have burned the right into your muscles. You are one of us." Back in the medbay. I shifted again in the medbay chair, wincing. The doctor raised an eyebrow ridge. Cultural exchange, he repeated. Explain? Spiky chairs, I said through clenched teeth, for 4 hours straight. The alien blinked his triple eyes. Madness. Then, after a pause, "But they accepted you?" "Yeah," I said, a small smile tugging at the corner of my lips despite the pain. "I think humanity just earned its seat at the table, literally." The doctor clicked his mandibles in what I was learning was amusement. Remarkable. Other species fled that trial centuries ago. You endured. Humanity always endures. I groaned as I shifted again, muttering, "Yeah, but I'm bringing a cushion next time." Would you like me to expand this into a longer, chapter-like continuation where the humans start deliberately joining more of these alien endurance rituals, turning them into diplomacy through suffering? Chapter 2, The Cushion War. 2 days later, I limped into the mess hall carrying the thickest, most overstuffed cushion I could scrounge from storage. A couple of the crew, humans and aliens alike, gave me curious looks. "Don't ask," I muttered, easing myself down onto it like a king onto his throne. Sweet, blessed relief. Of course, nothing stays secret long aboard a multi-species fleet. By evening, word had already reached the Tailcar. When they invited me back for another ritual of shared endurance, I proudly slapped the cushion onto my assigned crystal chair. Their faces, oh, you've never seen so many mandibles twitch at once. It was like I had just pulled a stunt at a funeral. This, their elder hissed, is dishonor. Endurance is meant to be felt. I leaned back smugly, not budging. Listen, elder, I already felt it. For 4 hours, that's plenty. But humanity also values practicality. They were scandalized, outraged, but also intrigued. Turning the tables. The thing about humans is, we improvise, we adapt, we find loopholes. So while they stewed over my audacity, I challenged them back. "Fine," I said. "You sit on the spikes like always, I'll sit on my cushion. Let's see who lasts longer." The room went quiet, their triple eyes widened. Then the elder snarled and accepted. What followed was the strangest endurance trial in their history. They endured stabbing pain, proud and stoic. I endured boredom, sitting comfortably, sipping their root brew, humming earth tunes. By hour 2, they started shifting. By hour 3, they twitched. By hour 4, they cracked. How? One wailed, leaping from his spiked chair. The human has defeated the right without suffering. I grinned. That's the human way. Why suffer when you can invent solutions? The birth of a legend. That night, rumors spread like plasma fire. The aliens had known only one kind of strength, to withstand agony. But humanity showed them another, the strength to outsmart agony. Some called it cheating, others called it genius. A few young tailcar even started cutting makeshift cushions from insulation foam, giggling like schoolkids caught breaking taboos. The elder wasn't laughing. You, he said, pointing at me, have begun a schism. I leaned forward, smiling despite the dull ache still in my backside. Not a schism, a revolution. Pain doesn't have to be the only path to respect. Sometimes comfort is the smarter choice. He stared at me for a long moment, then gave a grudging bow. Human, perhaps endurance is not the only strength worth honoring. And that's how I, a sore and stubborn human, accidentally started what would later be called the Cushion War of Cultures. Want me to continue with Chapter 3, where other alien species jump in, some siding with the pain tradition, others adopting humanity's cushion doctrine, until it escalates into a galaxy-wide diplomatic showdown? Chapter 3, When Cushions Shook the Stars. The galaxy had seen wars over territory, over faith, over resources. Never before had it seen a conflict over furniture. But that's exactly what began after the tailcar incident. The Great Divide. News spread faster than light. The ancient right of pain endurance had been broken, and worse, it had been broken by a human with a pillow. Species who revered pain as sacred declared outrage. The Vorthat carved barbs into their own hides to prove their devotion. The Krishtel broadcast sermons denouncing the soft ones. Even neutral observers called it cultural blasphemy. But then, something unexpected happened. The oppressed, the low-ranked, the ones who had always suffered through these rituals without complaint, they saw what I'd done and whispered, "Why not us?" Soon, foam pads, folded cloths, even piles of sandbags started appearing in endurance halls across dozens of star systems. A quiet rebellion of comfort. Humanity's embarrassing summons. I didn't mean to start a movement. Honestly, I just wanted my backside intact. But then the Fleet Council summoned me. Imagine it, generals, admirals, ambassadors, even alien dignitaries, all glaring down at me like I'd kicked a holy relic. You, one growled, mandibles clacking, have destabilized centuries of tradition. Do you deny it? I swallowed hard. I deny nothing. But, look, if your tradition requires people to be in pain just to prove loyalty, maybe the tradition needs questioning. The chamber erupted. Some shouted in fury, others clapped in approval. A war wasn't brewing over land, but over philosophy. The first Endurance Summit. To settle matters, the tailcar proposed a galaxy-wide event. Humans versus traditionalists. Cushion versus spike. Comfort versus pain. Billions tuned in. This was no longer a ritual, it was spectacle. I was shoved into the role of humanity's representative, a reluctant hero of soft seating. When the day came, the chamber was divided into two halves. Rows of crystal spike chairs for the traditionalists. Rows of plush, human-designed memory foam thrones for the rebels. The trial began. Hours passed. The spike sitters squirmed, sweated, clenched their teeth. The cushion sitters? They drank, laughed, even napped. By the time the last traditionalist collapsed in agony, the crowd roared with one undeniable truth. Humanity had won the war of endurance, without suffering. A cultural earthquake. That victory didn't end things. Oh no, it only made them worse. Because now half the galaxy demanded cushioned diplomacy, while the other half doubled down, carving even sharper spikes in defiance. Comfort had become rebellion. Pain had become pride. And I, the accidental founder of the cushion doctrine, was now both revered and hated. Some called me a prophet of softness. Others, a heretic who weakened the stars. All I knew was this: I still couldn't sit comfortably, because every council chamber now fought over whose chair I'd choose. Would you like me to push this into Chapter 4? where the cushion revolution escalates into interstellar alliances and even military standoffs until humans pull off an ultimate HFY twist to end it? Chapter 4: The Cushion Revolution. It started with laughter. It ended with fleets on the move. The Alliance of Comfort. Within weeks of the summit, half a dozen younger civilizations, those long bullied by endurance-obsessed empires, declared allegiance to the cushion doctrine. They painted symbols of pillows on their warships. They wore padded armor in protest. They held cushion parades in defiance of the old traditions. For the first time in centuries, the oppressed had a banner they could rally behind, one that wasn't forged in blood, but in relief. And at the center of it all, somehow, was me. The Tailcar Elder, once furious at me, now traveled with our delegation, grumbling, "You've unleashed a plague of softness." To which I replied, "No, Elder, we've unleashed choice." The spiked counterstrike. The traditionalist bloc struck back. The Krishtel Hierophants declared any cushioned sitter unfit for leadership. The Vorthak Warclans vowed to burn every pillow in sight. Entire factories retooled to produce spiked chairs of iron and obsidian, symbols of loyalty to the true path. And then, things turned ugly. Border stations between the blocks erupted into riots. Fleets shadowed each other in contested zones. It was only a matter of time before someone fired. All over seating. Humanity's Gambit. The Fleet Council turned to me. "You started this madness." An admiral snapped. "Now end it." I stared back at him, exhausted and sore. How do you expect me to end a galactic culture war with a chair? But then, that's when it hit me. Maybe the answer wasn't to choose between pain or comfort. Maybe the answer was to show them something beyond either. The Great Demonstration. We invited leaders from both blocks to a neutral station. Tensions were high. Half the room wanted me executed. The other half wanted me knighted. And then we unveiled it. The Adaptive Throne. A human invention, built in secret with alien engineers. It wasn't spikes. It wasn't cushions. It was both. Nanotech shifted under whoever sat on it, alternating between firm, sharp, soft, or anything in between, pain and comfort, endurance and relief, all in one seat. We called it the Throne of Balance. The twist. When the first elder sat down, expecting pain, the chair soothed him. When he relaxed, it gave him a spike jolt. The crowd gasped. "No," a Krishtel priest shouted. "This is abomination." But then the Tailcar Elder, the very one who'd once denounced me, leaned forward and said, "No, this is truth. Strength and softness together. Endurance is not the absence of comfort, endurance is surviving both." The chamber fell silent. For the first time, both blocks saw a path forward that wasn't division, but union. Aftermath. The fleets stood down. A new doctrine spread, not just pain, not just comfort, but adaptation. Humans had done it again, taken an alien tradition, endured it, twisted it, and reshaped it into something better. The galaxy would remember this as the cushion revolution. As for me, I finally got a decent chair. And every time I sit down, I smile at the thought. Humanity changed the stars, with upholstery. Would you like me to spin a final epilogue chapter, showing centuries later how historians, aliens, and future humans look back on the Great Cushion War with awe and a bit of ridicule? Epilogue: A Galaxy Remembers. Centuries later, schoolchildren across 1,000 worlds still giggled when they first learned about it. The Great Cushion War. History texts described it as the strangest cultural revolution in recorded galactic memory. Wars had been fought over resources, faiths, and ideologies. But this had been fought over the way one chose to sit. The divided lessons. Among the traditionalist worlds, monuments still stood, colossal spiked thrones carved from stone, polished by generations of worshippers who swore endurance was the highest virtue. Among the comfort worlds, museums displayed the first memory foam prototypes, squishy artifacts behind glass, revered as symbols of freedom. And in the neutral academies of the modern era, professors shook their heads and sighed. While some argue it was absurd, the Cushion War proved that even the smallest human defiance could ripple across civilizations. Humanity's legacy. Humanity itself had moved on. Our diplomats no longer carried cushions as protest symbols. Our ships no longer bore pillow insignias. But the lesson lingered in our culture. When faced with pain, humanity endures. When endurance alone is not enough, humanity innovates. And when innovation challenges tradition, humanity adapts it into something stronger. That triad, endure, innovate, adapt, became a founding principle of interstellar law, inscribed on the marble walls of the Galactic Concord itself. The chair that changed everything. And in the Hall of Balance, on the capital world, sat a single artifact under protective stasis fields. The adaptive throne. Tourists queued for hours just to glimpse it. Guides retold the story with dramatic flair, how one stubborn human, too sore to sit quietly, had upended millennia of ritual and forced the galaxy to rethink its values. Children laughed, scholars debated, leaders reflected. Because, in the end, it wasn't about cushions, or spikes, or thrones. It was about something far greater, the human refusal to accept that suffering was the only way to prove strength. And so the galaxy remembered. The wars ended, the alliances shifted, but the moral endured. Sometimes, all it takes to change the stars is refusing to sit down the way you're told. Would you like me to repackage this whole story, one epilogue, into a seamless long-form HFY short story, like something you'd read in a sci-fi anthology? Archivist's note, 1,200 years after the Cushion War. The data crystals of the Concord preserve many wars, treaties, and tragedies. But when visitors request the most popular archive, do they ask for the Treaty of Heroin, the collapse of the Vorthak Dominion, the rise of the Krishtel theocracy? No. They ask for this. The story of how a human, an unremarkable fleet officer by all other accounts, changed the galaxy with nothing more than stubbornness, humor, and a cushion. Myths that grew from it. Over centuries, the tale warped and spread. Some cultures insist the human was a demigod of comfort, sent to deliver the galaxy from needless pain. Others tell it as a joke, a parable of absurdity, beware, or the humans will conquer you with chairs. Still others whisper that the adaptive throne was more than nanotech, that it was an artifact seeded by humanity's long-lost ancestors, and the officer merely rediscovered it. None of that is true. The logs are clear. It was just a tired man, refusing to let tradition bruise his backside again. Humanity's embarrassing honor. Every millennium, during the Concord's Unity Festival, the great leaders reenact the event. Imagine it, emperors, queens, and warlords, all forced to sit on ceremonial spike thrones for 1 minute before dramatically leaping onto memory foam cushions, to the roaring laughter of billions. The humans cringe every time. We've cured diseases, crossed galaxies, rewritten physics, they complain, and this is what we're remembered for? But the galaxy never forgets, because to them, that moment revealed the human essence better than any war or invention ever could. We endure, but we refuse to endure needlessly. Closing the record. So when you read this archive, remember, the Cushion War wasn't really about chairs, it was about choice, about refusing to accept that pain equates to honor, about daring to say there's a better way in the face of tradition that said otherwise. That is why the Concord still honors humanity with a saying etched into every academy wall. They taught us that strength is not how much pain you can bear, but knowing when not to. Archivist Relfan. Concord Historical Repository, year 1201 after Cushion. Sparkles, that's the true final epilogue, written like a historian's record to close the saga. Do you want me to now stitch all chapters, one archivist's note, into one polished HFY short story so you can have it as a single flowing piece? Perfect, let's close the loop. Here's the full, polished HFY short story, stitched together from chapter 1 all the way to the archivist's note, written like a proper anthology piece. What the alien did last night. And why I can't sit comfortably today. Chapter 1, The Spiked Right. The med bay chair groaned as I lowered myself onto it, wincing. The alien doctor, a tall spindle-limbed thing with too many fingers, tilted his head. Human, he said in his careful translation tone. Your gait is impaired. Did battle occur? Not exactly, I muttered. Let's just say, cultural exchange got out of hand. The tail car had invited me to their ritual of shared endurance. I thought it was a feast. Maybe spicy food, weird drinks, alien music. Instead, I was handed a seat covered in ridged crystal spikes, like a massage chair built by a sadist. They all sat down like it was nothing, smiling, relaxing. Me? I lowered myself onto the spikes, every nerve in my backside screaming rebellion. But I refused to flinch. Humanity's reputation was on the line. For hours, they drank and laughed while I trembled in silence. By the end, I could barely stand, but the elders clapped my shoulders. The human endures. Back in Med Bay, when I told the doctor spiky chairs, 4 hours straight, he just clicked his mandibles and said, "Remarkable. Other species fled that trial centuries ago. Humanity always endures." I groaned. Yeah, but I'm bringing a cushion next time. Chapter 2, The Cushion War. 2 days later, I did just that. When the tail car invited me back, I plopped a cushion on my chair before sitting down. The elders twitched their mandibles in horror. Dishonor. Endurance is meant to be felt. I just shrugged. Listen, I already felt it. For 4 hours. That's enough. Humanity values practicality. Scandalized. They accused me of cheating. So I challenged them back. Fine. You sit on spikes. I'll sit on this. Let's see who lasts longer. Hours passed. They squirmed and sweated. I hummed earth tunes and sipped their root brew. Eventually they collapsed. I didn't. That's how the cushion doctrine was born. Chapter 3, When Cushions Shook the Stars. The galaxy erupted. Pain-revering empires denounced me as a heretic. But the oppressed, who had endured rituals for centuries, whispered, "Why not us?" Soon, pads, cloths, even makeshift pillows appeared in endurance halls everywhere. The galaxy split into blocks, the traditionalists, who sharpened their spikes in defiance, and the comfortists, who painted pillows on their warships. A war of philosophy brewed, and I, sore backside and all, was at the center of it. Chapter 4, The Cushion Revolution. The Fleet Council demanded I end it, so I built something new. The adaptive throne. Nanotech that shifted under whoever sat on it, sometimes sharp, sometimes soft, sometimes both. Pain and comfort, endurance and relief. When we unveiled it, the galaxy gasped. "Abomination," cried priests. But then the tail car elder, the same one who'd first scolded me, rose and said, "Endurance is not the absence of comfort. Endurance is surviving both." The fleets stood down. The cushion war ended, not with blood, but with balance. Epilogue, A Galaxy Remembers. Centuries later, children still giggled at the story of the Great Cushion War. On some worlds, spike thrones stood as monuments. On others, museums displayed the first human cushions as relics of liberation. And in the Concord's Hall of Balance sat the adaptive throne, protected, revered, laughed at. Historians debated its meaning. Politicians reenacted it at festivals. And humans? We cringed. Because despite curing diseases, crossing galaxies, rewriting physics, we were remembered for chairs. But maybe that was fitting, because in the end, the cushion war wasn't about chairs at all. It was about the human refusal to accept that needless suffering was strength. And that was how we changed the stars, with upholstery. Archivist's note, 1,200 years later. Visitors to the Concord Archive often ask, why does the galaxy revere the cushion war? Because it proved a simple truth. Humanity endures, humanity innovates, humanity adapts. Endure, innovate, adapt. That triad is now etched into every academy wall, not because of battles or conquests, but because one stubborn officer refused to sit quietly on spikes. Sometimes, history turns not on blades or treaties, but on a man with a sore backside saying, "Maybe there's a better way." White heavy checkmark. That's the full anthology-style short story, polished and seamless. Do you want me to format it like a Reddit/r/HFY post, with first-person flair and comment bait ending, or keep it in this clean, anthology-style format? Got it. Let's give you a final HFY-style continuation. The kind of postscript you'd see if this were on /r/HFY, where the human narrator chimes back in after the historians and myths have had their say. Postscript, from the man himself. Archivists love to polish history until it shines. They make speeches about triads and doctrines, etch fancy slogans into marble, and act like I knew what I was doing all along. Truth is, I didn't. I wasn't trying to start a revolution. I wasn't trying to change the galaxy. I was just a tired human who didn't want his backside turned into hamburger meat for the sake of alien tradition. But that's humanity for you. We don't just endure. We ask why we're enduring in the first place. And if the answer's because it's always been done, we'll tear the whole thing apart and build something better. Do I deserve statues, festivals, and a galactic holiday? No. But do I deserve a damn good chair wherever I go? Absolutely. And if that's humanity's legacy, that we spread the gospel of cushions to the stars, well, I can live with that. Even if I still can't sit comfortably. Fire. That's the HFY-style mic drop ending, where the narrator breaks through the layers of myth and speaks directly. Do you want me to now mock up a fake Reddit thread, with in-universe alien commenters reacting to the story, some outraged and some reverent, to really give it that HFY authenticity? Perfect, let's turn this into the fake Reddit thread epilogue you'd see on /r/HFY, with humans and aliens commenting in-universe. HFY, what the alien did last night. And why I can't sit comfortably today. You/spiky diplomat, OP. Yeah, I know the archivists like to dress it up as the cushion revolution now, but for the record, it started with one tired human ass and one very bad chair. Top comments. You/Bortak_Paineater. Blasphemy. Endurance is strength. The human desecrated our sacred rights with softness. I still sit on spikes daily. You/Pillow_Princess_42. LMAO. Imagine being proud of stabbing your but just to impress grandma. Humanity did what humanity always does, invented a better chair. Deal with it. You/Christel_Theologian. The heresy spreads even here. First they desecrate the rights. Then they corrupt our youth with foam. Next they'll say pain is unnecessary in war. You/Archivist_Elthan. Flair, Concord historian. As one who curates the official records, I assure you this thread will be screenshotted and preserved. Future generations must know how casually revolutions are discussed by humans. You/Soft but saves worlds. Look, all I'm saying is, you can keep your spikes, but the moment you sit on memory foam, you never go back. You/TerraMarine87. We literally conquered endurance by outlasting people who were trying to suffer. That's HFY in a nutshell. You/Tailcar_Elder. I was there. I was furious. I called him a heretic. Now I have 6 cushions in my quarters and my grand hatchling refuses to sit on anything spiky. Damn you, human. You/Spiky Diplomat, OP. Yuri, welcome. And that's how the HFY thread would have looked if humans really kicked off the Great Cushion War. Backhand index pointing right. Want me to now mock up a fake Concord News article, the day humanity declared war on chairs, like an in-universe piece of journalism covering it? Concord News Network, CNN. Headline, The Day Humanity Declared War on Chairs. Byline, Jareth Oln, Senior Correspondent. Lead. What began as a minor cultural misunderstanding between a single human officer and the Tailcar Elder Council has escalated into what historians now call the Cushion Revolution. The cause? Not weapons, not borders, not resources. Chairs. Background. The Tailcar have practiced the ritual of shared endurance for nearly 6 millennia. The rite required participants to sit upon crystalline spiked thrones for hours, demonstrating pain tolerance as proof of loyalty. Most species either failed or avoided the rite altogether. Humanity, however, introduced an innovation no one anticipated, the cushion. Fleet officer designation withheld, nicknamed by citizens the Spiky Diplomat, not only survived the rite once, but returned a second time with a padded seat. What followed shocked galactic tradition. The human outlasted the elders by removing pain from the equation entirely. The aftermath. The traditionalists, Christel, Vortak, and allied worlds, denounced the act as cultural sabotage. The comfortists, younger and lower-ranked species, embraced the rebellion, mass-producing cushions as symbols of liberation. Riots and protests broke out across 42 worlds. Fleets mobilized, and interstellar relations teetered on collapse. The conflict peaked during the first Endurance Summit, where humanity unveiled the adaptive throne, a nanotech seat that alternated between pain and relief. For the first time, both blocs agreed to a compromise. The war ended not with fleets firing, but with everyone sitting down, literally. Cultural reverberations. Today, the adaptive throne sits in the Hall of Balance on Concord Prime. Pilgrims visit it daily. Replicas flood marketplaces across the Outer Rim. Meanwhile, humans face the awkward reality that their greatest diplomatic achievement isn't warp technology, or medicine, or military victories, but upholstery. Quotes. Concord historian Relthan. It was absurd, yes, but absurdity sometimes reveals the deepest truths. Humanity taught us that suffering is not sacred, it is optional. Tailcar Elder, retired. I hated him for it. Now I own 4 cushions. Curse the humans, but curse them comfortably. Anonymous human fleet officer, spiky diplomat. I just wanted to sit without bleeding. Now I'm in every schoolbook. Figures. Closing. So when future generations ask, what truly defines humanity's contribution to the stars? The answer may not be engines, or weapons, or science. It may simply be this: the right to sit down in peace. Would you like me to go one step further and mock up a galactic museum exhibit guide? Like a visitor brochure describing the Hall of Cushions with sarcastic little blurbs? Classical Building Galactic Concord Museum. Visitor's Guide, Hall of Cushions. Welcome, traveler. You are entering the most visited exhibit in the Concord Museum network, the Hall of Cushions. Yes, this is the one you've heard of. Yes, it's about chairs. And yes, we know, it sounds ridiculous, but we promise, it changed history. Chair exhibit highlights. 1. The original spike throne. Endurance is truth. Tailcar proverb. Carved from volcanic crystal, this throne once tested loyalty by pressing ridged spikes into its sitter's body. Few survived more than an hour. Warning: please do not attempt to sit on this artifact. Yes, humans, that means you. We remember the last time. 2. Fleet Officer's Cushion, replica. I just didn't want to bleed that day. The human, circa year 0 of the Cushion War. A humble pad of woven fabric and foam, but credited with igniting the galaxy's most absurd cultural revolution. The original cushion was destroyed in the riots on Vortak Prime. This replica is safe to touch. Eyes fun fact, children love bouncing on this. Security does not. 3. The Adaptive Throne. Endurance is not suffering. Endurance is surviving both. Elder Tailcar. Year 2. The legendary nanotech seat that ended the Cushion War. Adaptive materials shift between painful spikes and soothing softness, teaching balance between extremes. Visitors are allowed 30 seconds per sit. Warning: the chair has been known to jolt sitters unexpectedly. Enjoy responsibly. 4. The Schism Wall. Interactive display showing which species sided with pain and which with comfort. Touch a star system to see where they stood during the war. Headphone audio narration available in 8,200 languages, including human sarcasm mode. 5. Gift Shop, Pillows of Peace. Take home a piece of history. Choose from memory foam mini cushions, glow-in-the-dark pillow plushies, limited edition spiky diplomat action figure with detachable cushion accessory. All proceeds fund the museum's upholstery preservation program. Museum note: historians often joke that while other species left behind monuments of stone, fire, and steel, humanity's legacy was softness. But then again, softness stopped a war. Would you like me to keep going with a mock alien school textbook excerpt, like a chapter teaching children about the Cushion War in a simplified, sometimes hilariously biased way? Classical Building Galactic Concord Museum, Visitor's Guide, Hall of Cushions. Welcome, traveler. You are entering the most visited exhibit in the Concord Museum network, the Hall of Cushions. Yes, this is the one you've heard of. Yes, it's about chairs. And yes, we know, it sounds ridiculous, but we promise, it changed history. Chair exhibit highlights. 1. The original spike throne. Endurance is truth. Tailcar proverb. carved from volcanic crystal. This throne once tested loyalty by pressing ridged spikes into its sitter's body. Few survived more than an hour. Warning: please do not attempt to sit on this artifact. Yes, humans. That means you. We remember the last time. 2. Fleet Officer's Cushion, Replica. I just didn't want to bleed that day. The Human. Circa year 0 of the Cushion War. A humble pad of woven fabric and foam, but credited with igniting the galaxy's most absurd cultural revolution. The original cushion was destroyed in the riots on Vortak Prime. This replica is safe to touch. Eyes. Fun fact: children love bouncing on this. Security does not. 3. The Adaptive Throne. Endurance is not suffering. Endurance is surviving both. Elder Tale Car. Year 2. The legendary nanotech seat that ended the Cushion War. Adaptive materials shift between painful spikes and soothing softness, teaching balance between extremes. Visitors are allowed 30 seconds per sit. Warning: the chair has been known to jolt sitters unexpectedly. Enjoy responsibly. 4. The Schism Wall. Interactive display showing which species sided with pain and which with comfort. Touch a star system to see where they stood during the war. Headphone audio narration available in 8,200 languages, including human sarcasm mode. 5. Gift Shop, Pillows of Peace. Take home a piece of history. Choose from memory foam mini cushions, glow-in-the-dark pillow plushies, limited edition spiky diplomat action figure with detachable cushion accessory. All proceeds fund the museum's upholstery preservation program. Museum note: historians often joke that while other species left behind monuments of stone, fire, and steel, humanity's legacy was softness. But then again, softness stopped a war. Would you like me to keep going with a mock alien school textbook excerpt, like a chapter teaching children about the Cushion War in a simplified, sometimes hilariously biased way?